You like my shirt? I think the tear in the shoulder makes me look sexy. I am amazed that I am still here in YouTube. Perhaps the Hovind cult has learned its lesson by now and has ceased its abuses. If so, the victims of that abuse should be reinstated by YouTube. I am angered that they have not been so by now. I had planned on doing a series of videos about the Mountain Meadows Mormon massacre. However, the Kent Hovind cult has forced me to change my video priorities. Kent Hovind now gets my full attention. This video is part 1 of the Hovind tax evasion cases, for which Reverend Kent Hovind and his wife Jo have been convicted, and they are both now serving federal prison terms. Hovind was and is required by United States law to extract a portion of his employees' pay for income tax, Social Security tax, and Medicare tax. Tax withholdings are based upon an employee's married status and the number of her or his dependents. The main criminal case against the Hovinds were and are based upon the Hovinds' refusal to pay income tax personally, and also the Hovinds' refusal to extract taxes from their employees' paychecks. The secondary case involves the Hovinds committing criminal acts to hide their banking transactions. Since the Hovinds used bank accounts that are federally insured, the criminal prosecution included federal as well as state and county criminal charges against them. During the trial, a Christian lawyer Hovind confided in, personally and not professionally, stated under oath that Hovind told him that he, Hovind, had, quote, beat the tax system, unquote. That was, of course, before Hovind was convicted and sent to prison. According to IRS testimony under oath, Reverend Hovind has been evading taxes for 17 years. The IRS finally raided the Hovind residence in the year 2004 to execute a tax lien against Hovind and his properties. And they found $42,000 in cash. That's $5 bills, $10 bills, $20 bills, $100 bills, $50 bills, all laying around. One of the IRS agents who participated in that raid said that cash was, quote, all over the place, unquote. Reverend Hovind insisted he was bankrupt and that all of his cash and all of his property are not his, but belong to a god. From the year 1999 to the start of the year 2004, the Hovind business raked in more than $5 million, even though, according to the IRS, the Hovinds do not have a business license. That income was taxable to the tune of about $470,000. The Hovinds did not pay taxes on that income. Hovind has claimed he believes income tax is, quote, 100% voluntary, unconstitutional, and also against the law, unquote. On June 3rd, 2004, the IRS filed notices of federal tax liens of over $500,000 against Hovind and his son and their businesses, due to previous legal maneuverings by the Hovinds to evade taxation by moving property between Hovind himself, Eric Hovind, his son, and other Hovind legal entities. On July 7th, the year 2006, the United States Tax Court found that Hovind was deficit in paying his federal income taxes in tax years 1995, 1996, and 1997 in the amount of $504,957.24. On July 11th, 2006, Hovind was charged in the United States District Court for the Northern District of Florida in Pensacola with 12 counts of willful failure to collect, account for, and pay over federal income taxes and FICA taxes, Social Security and Medicare. Also, 45 counts of knowingly structuring transactions in federally insured financial institutions to evade reporting requirements. Also, 1 count of corruptly endeavoring to obstruct and impede the administration of the Internal Revenue laws. Other criminal charges included Hovind falsely listing the IRS as his only creditor in his bankruptcy, filing a false and frivolous lawsuit against the IRS in which he demanded damages for criminal trespass, making threats of harm to those investigating him and those who might consider cooperating with the investigation, filing a false complaint against IRS agents investigating him, filing a false criminal complaint against IRS special agents, and destroying tax records. I find these charges amusing because they are the same type of charges that members of organized crime are generally charged with. After being indicted, Hovind maintained his innocence. Quote, "I still don't understand what I'm being charged for and who is charging me," unquote. Magistrate Miles Davis asked Hovind if Hovind wrote and spoke English, to which Hovind responded, quote, "To some degree," unquote. Hovind claimed he does not know what crimes he committed, even though evidence shows that he took active measures to evade detection of the crimes he was committing. At first, Reverend Hovind attempted to enter a plea of subordination of false muster, but then he entered a not guilty plea, quote, "under duress," unquote, when the judge offered to enter a plea for him. By subordination of false muster, Hovind was telling the judge that the judge and the court did not have the right to put him, Hovind, on trial. The following audio clips are from the public domain recordings of Reverend Hovind's telephone conversations while he was in prison awaiting sentencing for the crimes he had just been convicted of. I find it amusing that Hovind was still pretending to be not guilty of the crimes he was just found guilty of committing, and that he was still campaigning his innocence over the telephone as if he had an audience listening.
We're sitting here worried what they're going to do next, and we really should be on the offense. I mean, they broke so many laws, they didn't follow their own procedure, and maybe another criminal complaint with the federal court.
Hovind has been claiming for over 5 years that the IRS agents are the ones who broke the law, not him. Hovind has filed a few lawsuits against the IRS and IRS agents that have been found by the courts to be frivolous. Hovind has yet to point to any action by the IRS or IRS agents that break or broke the law.
About the only thing we got going for us is Scott Snyder is a little bit afraid that I will sue him.
Yeah.
And I will.
Amen.
Scott Snyder is not at all afraid that Reverend Hovind will sue him again. When Hovind sued Special Agent Snyder for, quote, "criminal trespassing," unquote, Chief United States District Judge Roger Vinson ruled against Hovind. Basically, that case, the IRS Special Agent Scott Snyder entered Hovind's property to serve 4 summonses to Eric Hovind, Creation Science Evangelism Transportation, which is a legal entity Hovind set up for protecting his automobiles, Creation Science Evangelism, and Faith Baptist Fellowship. All of the summonses were in regard to a criminal investigation that Snyder was performing. However, Hovind had posted his property with notices stating that government agents were not allowed to enter the property without written consent. Since Agent Snyder was performing a criminal investigation, he had every right to enter the property. The judge said so. Hovind putting up the signs to keep law enforcement agents away was both funny and sad. Sad in that he might have actually believed the signs would work.
I'll do it again. And the rest of his life. If he doesn't start obeying the law, I'm going to haunt him the rest of his life.
I hope you do.
Just going to keep, because he needs to obey the law. He's got a badge. Okay, so what, Obey the law then,
Reverend Hovind has been unable to show what law Special Agent Snyder has broken. I find it silly that Hovind would crow in defense of the law while he was waiting to find what his prison term would be for breaking the law more than 50 times.
Man, I don't want to fight these guys. I just don't want to fight them. But if they won't leave me alone, what can I do, you know?
If Hovind had paid his taxes, he would not be in prison now. If he had not broken the law, he would not be in prison right now. The brutal, unvarnished truth is that Reverend Hovind wanted to go to prison. He did everything he could to make sure he went to prison. Sadly, he dragged his wife, Jo, to prison with him.